All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. This is the Executive's Guide to Selecting a Managed Service Provider, or MSP. My name's Eddie Finley. I'm the Sales Manager here at LBMC, and I'll be hosting and being your moderator today. We really appreciate all of you attending. Just some general housekeeping before we get started. All lines have been muted to eliminate background noise. If you experience any difficulties whatsoever, let us know in the chat panel. And then we will be taking questions throughout the webinar. So feel free to ask a question in the Q&A down at the bottom. More questions, the better. We realize sometimes the best way to learn is from other people's questions. So we definitely want you to ask as many questions as you have during it, and we'll try to address what we can. This presentation will be provided to you all afterwards, and we will have a survey. So please submit your survey. Give us your shipping address, and for fun, we have a Funko Pop Star Wars figure. This is May 4th, officially Star Wars Day for the May 4th be with you. First time I learned that this year, but we try to have some fun with that. All right, so you may or may not be familiar with us at LBMC Technology Solutions. I just put a few bullets on here, high level. We are part of a larger accounting firm that was founded in the 80s, but LBMC Technology Solutions, we were established in 1996. We are award-winning, fully integrated IT solution provider, so we can help in all areas of IT, whether it's a full outsourced solution or just scaled aspects of IT solutions. So whether you have an internal team or not, we can either we can come in and scale. If you don't have an IT team, we can be your full outsourced partner. We do have a team of 120 people within our company, and outside of IT, we also provide ERP and CRM solutions. So we represent Microsoft, Business Central, Dynamics, and we also represent Sage Intacct for an ERP system. We also help with business intelligence. So a lot of companies have custom integrations and reporting. So we have a team of specialists that definitely help with that, including Power BI applications. We are, as I mentioned, we are part of a larger group of larger conglomerate of companies. So on this screen here, I won't go through each one of these, but you can see we've got LBMC entities in different areas such as tax and accounting, wealth management, and outside of our IT solutions, we also have a risk services company that can help with penetration testing and risk analysis. So all that to say, we try to be a one-stop shop for most business needs and be a true value-added partner to our clients. All right, so we're excited to share with you our presenters today. First, we have Robert Powell, and he is our Chief Delivery Officer for our managed IT services. Robert joined our team in 1998, brings over 25 years of experience in technology, system architecture, implementation, and IT management. He currently leads the team in all areas of not only solutions, but also the implementations. And we run a tight ship, we like to say. Our next presenter is Jason Barnes, and Jason is our CRM and Microsoft Power Apps Practice Manager. Jason joined LBMC over 8 years ago, has 22 years experience in technology, specializing in the CRM, Microsoft Power Platform, and Microsoft Power Platform and solution consulting and architecture. Sorry, it's a lot there, but we're excited to have them present today. And some of our agenda items is number one, we're going to go over some valuable insights on how to assess managed service providers' experience and reputation to ensure that they have a track record of providing quality services. The other is, talking about which factors are key indicators of a managed service provider's commitment to leveraging and supporting the latest technologies and best practices. Also go over specific services that you should be receiving from your managed service provider to ensure continued growth within your organization. Also, how to effectively communicate with your managed service provider to ensure that your business's IT needs are being met. And as I mentioned before, a live question and answer session. So please, please submit your questions and answers in the Q&A section below. So we have some different polling questions that we're going to be asking throughout. We'd love to get your feedback, love to be able to share your feedback. So number one, are you currently using a managed service provider for network support? Please take this time to answer one of those. All right, just give you a little bit more time here, but obviously options are yes, we outsource to a managed service provider. No, we do everything in-house. We have a hybrid of a managed service provider and in-house. And maybe you're not familiar with network support. All right. All right, so we have 20% of you that answered yes, we outsource to a managed service provider. 40% that say no, we do everything in-house. 40% we have a hybrid of managed service provider and in-house. And I'm very thankful nobody selected what is network support. But on the no, we do everything in-house. Again, there might be some opportunities to scale to help with efficiencies and to allow you to utilize the in-house team for other areas possibly. But we appreciate y'all's input on that, and we will go ahead to the next slide here. We'll jump right into our presentation with Robert Powell. Appreciate you, Robert.
All right, thanks, Eddie, and thanks everybody. Appreciate you joining the call here, and may the 4th be with you. And well, that's new to Eddie. I've known about it for long ago. So starting up here, you need an MSP that truly partners with you. So these first few quotations here are just a sample of some of the comments that we've had from prospective customers in years past. You know, these are, and I won't necessarily go through and read them, but as you look at these are things that we always hate to hear. And these are comments that I know the customers didn't like experiencing. So as a client-focused managed services provider, or MSP, we believe that an MSP should operate as an extension of your business. They should intimately understand what you do and how technology can help you and your company be more successful. So these comments above, they don't represent that, but we would like to see kind of the opposite scenario, and this is what we strive for with our clients. I'm sure this is not a surprise to anyone to see security towards the top of the list. This is one of the biggest factors that we deal with today in IT or just in the world. I'm sure you see on the news every day where new companies are breached by ransomware. In fact, I saw some that were released this morning. Not just companies, but government, municipalities, even hospitals and nonprofits are being attacked by ransomware. You also see every day where companies are being compromised by phishing attacks. So this is pretty insidious, and used to be where it was easy to identify where something could be a fake email trying to trick you out of your information, like the Nigerian prince scheme. It's not so easy to identify anymore. They're getting more and more accurate and harder to identify. Data theft, called exfiltration, is also on the rise. So even if they don't get paid by you paying them to decrypt their files through ransomware, they may hold your data hostage. So for a company like a hospital or somebody that's under HIPAA or any high compliance, this could be a very serious situation. You don't want your patient records like social security numbers and health information being put out on the dark web for sale. And that's pretty much what they're threatening to do. If you don't pay the ransom, we're going to put everything out on the dark web. And so there's a scenario here where you can survive the ransomware attack and maybe not have to pay, but can you survive the attack on your reputation because all your information, all your company records have now been released to the world? Also, years ago, used to be that when this first started, the payout on recovery might be in the thousands, but now the ransoms in many cases are millions of dollars per breach. So the price keeps going up and up. Small clients used to consider themselves unlikely targets, but now small companies would be considered prime targets. And that's primarily because small companies are they just don't have the sophistication that the large companies do. They're easy to break into. They don't have the security that a large company would do. They don't have the people watching the gateways. Nobody's watching the front door, let alone the back door. So having a company like a managed services provider watching over your gateway and providing more enterprise level security to your company is huge. And so that's something that you should be talking about with your MSPs. Additionally, cyber insurance carriers are now requiring maximum security. They took a bath a couple of years ago, particularly after COVID hit, and had to pay out a lot of money. And now they're requiring for you to sign up for cybersecurity insurance, which we would recommend to everybody, that you check off a ton of boxes. So do you have multi-factor authentication installed? Do you have a proper endpoint solution? Are you using a zero trust solution? And some of you, may not know what all of these solutions are, and that's fine, but your managed services provider can help with those questions. But the cyber insurance carriers may not even pay out. Not only, it could be even worse than that. So if you promise that you have these things and then they find out after a breach that you don't, they're not paying out. It could be bad. And then finally, you need an IT partner that is constantly evaluating your security stack. Are they using the best of breed software? Is it ranked high on the like the Gartner quadrant? It should be in the top right as a leader, as a business leader for security and other software packages. So your MSP should be making these recommendations for solutions that, like I said, are best of breed. All right, we got another poll question here. So do you use any cybersecurity tools? Got three options. Yes, we have a large toolkit. Yes, only one or two of the out-of-the-box solutions, or no, we don't, but we need help. And we'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to answer that. All right. Okay, so it looks like we've got everybody's under the 1 or 2 out of the box solutions category. So that's definitely better than not having anything. All right, backup and disaster recovery. So this is purposefully following the security slide. And while backup and disaster recovery is not technically a part of the security stack, it is something that really, in my opinion, kind of fits into the security stack. And the reason why is because if all your other security layers fail, your MSP should be, you're dependent on that backup solution or that disaster recovery solution. So your MSP should be protecting that backup solution. It should not be vulnerable to ransomware or viruses. We've had companies come to us with ransomware, and it's a disheartening situation when you find out that their backup solution was on the same network as their primary systems, and the bad guys, the bad actors, not only did they get into their production equipment, they also found their backups and they destroyed that. So the bad guys are going to do everything they can to make sure that you pay that ransom. So your MSP or your IT team should be protecting that, making sure that it's off network. It should not be accessible at all from production. And then not only should it be protected, it should also be tested on a regular basis. This is something we've seen in the past too, where somebody might have a older backup type solution that, particularly in the days of tapes where you were swapping out tapes, and you might get a successful message every single day, but you never really test restore, or you don't do a major test restore. So when it comes to an event happening, you go and try to recover that data and you can't restore it, or you can only partially restore it, which could be a company ending event. So we recommend that not only do you perform the recovery of files on a regular basis, and the regular basis could be quarterly. That's what we typically do. But you not only do that, you do a full spin up of the systems, and that could be on premise and another set of disconnected hardware, or that could be in the cloud. And actually, we often do that in both places to make sure that we can recover to the cloud and we can recover on premise. And then you can even go as far as on that quarterly basis, you have your end users come in and do testing. So yes, we got the, yes, we can recover files. Yes, we can spin up the servers. And then, yes, the users can get in and launch their applications and make sure that everything is working and perform their day-to-day jobs. And then that one's mostly talking about more traditional servers, but a lot of people are in the cloud now. So you've got SaaS solutions or hosted applications. So a couple examples would be Google Workspace or Microsoft 365. And many people make the assumption that those vendors are adequately backing up those solutions. And while they're doing basic backup of it, they don't give you much retention. So Microsoft, for example, only gives you 30 days. If an email is deleted, it can only be recovered for 30 days. If a mailbox is deleted, it can only be recovered for 30 days. And then some of their other solutions, it's even less than that. So we recommend that you have a third-party solution that is backing those up on top of what Microsoft or Google are doing. And then that retention level can be aligned with your company's compliance requirements or standards. Okay. Another area that is helpful is checking your managed services provider's metrics. Now, this could be your existing managed services provider, or this could be somebody that you're considering. So first off, what do their employees say about them? And that might be kind of an odd thing to start off with, because maybe you're thinking you should be more looking at the companies, and we'll get to that, what their clients are saying about them. But I always think that what employees are saying is very telling about what a company, how a company is providing customer service and in taking care of their employees. So a happy employee is in a better state of mind and generally provides better service. It's kind of like the foundation of providing customer service. So one place you could go is Glassdoor. That one's a pretty common one. You can run out to Glassdoor, pull up the company, and then read the reviews that their employees are writing about them. If the employees' reviews are extremely negative, then this might not be a good company to do business with. But on the other hand, if they're very positive and they talk about it being a great place to work, that's a good sign. And then employee turnover. So this one's maybe a little bit more difficult to ascertain. So you can't just as easily run out to a website to find this. So you might have to have this discussion with the company and see if they can provide you some statistics on what their employee turnover is. Just like what you would get off of Glassdoor, this is also an indicator of the healthiness of the company. So a company with high turnover is going to be less healthy, of course, and then a company with low turnover would be more healthy. And how this impacts you as a client of theirs is, one, the people that are coming in are constantly having to learn how to support your systems, your applications, your hardware. And then you are having to always learn new faces and, in a sense, train them on how to support you. All right, so then what are the clients saying about them? This is the other side of the coin, so very important. You can run to Google and check out their Google reviews. There's other sites that give company reviews, but Google is a pretty good standard for checking out company reviews. So clearly you want a company that has a high level of 5 stars and positive comments. You can also ask them for their customer satisfaction score and for feedback out of their service desk solution. They should be able to run these reports and give them to you pretty quickly. And then there's the net promoter scores. So what is the likelihood that their customers would do business with them again? They should be able to give you this information. And then finally, what is their client turnover rate? If they've got a high turnover, again, that would be a bad metric. And then the final thing is client references. Always ask for client references. Okay, employee expertise. So this slide right here shows some of our partnerships and some of our awards, but you do want an IT provider that is hiring highly trained employees that can adequately support your business. So how do you determine this? Again, this is another one where it's more of an interview type question. So ask them for their training regimen and frequency. You can ask them for a list of their certifications. Now, while certifications don't always translate into expertise, it does demonstrate that they're willing to invest in ongoing training and education. And then they should be certified in the areas that they will be servicing you as a customer as well. And then I'll throw in employee longevity on this one too, which a company that hangs on to employees for a long time also can translate into employee expertise because they've spent a long time training on those solutions with the company. So ask them about their employee longevity. communication. So Warren Buffett said, if there was one skill people could improve on, it would be how to connect and communicate. I think we're all aware that good communication is the key to any healthy relationship. And that goes whether it's a business-to-business relationship or a personal relationship. Communication is king. So ask your MSP, how do they communicate with their customers? What are their different roles that are involved in communication? As you put in a ticket, you would be working with the service desk. So what's their service desk communication? What are their SLAs, their service level agreements? Do they get back with you in an hour? Do they get back with you in 2 hours? Do they get back with you in 2 days? On the senior technical side, you may have like a primary engineer that would come out on a regular basis, ask them about how that communication works and what to expect on a regular basis from interaction with their primary engineer. Many managed services providers have a VCIO or a virtual, we may call it a fractional CIO role. So that CIO role should have regular interaction with the management level in the company. And that should be on a scheduled basis where, that could be quarterly, could be monthly, where they're talking to the main contacts in the C-suite at the client, doing budgeting, strategic planning. But then they can also be available on an ad hoc basis. And then there's sales. So you have strategic account managers and account execs that should be regularly having touch points and planning with the client as well. Again, all of these kind of roll up together to provide a full communication mechanism with the customer. All right. This graph represents what we provide to our customers and overall our common services for all managed services providers. And I won't go into a lot of detail on each of these for time's sake. But in some scenarios, we have a fully managed relationship with the client. That means they have no IT staff. And we service every part of their IT needs up and down the stack. So from all the way from help desk and basic support requests up to a virtual CIO. And then in other cases, we have a client that may have IT staff and we're filling in the gaps, and that's called a co-managed solution. So just a few examples of co-managed IT might be where the managed services provider is providing just patching and antivirus management for the customer and their internal IT staff is doing everything else. Or it could be a situation to where the managed services provider is just doing service desk tickets and the internal IT is covering everything above that. And then another example could be where maybe the managed services provider is just hosting some servers and managing those hosted servers, but internal IT takes care of everything that's on premise. It's very customizable and you've got a lot of options there. So in a co-managed scenario, you do want to make sure it's healthy, and it can be a very healthy relationship. So how do you make it healthy? One is the managed services provider can make all their tools available to the internal IT staff. So the remote monitoring and management tool, how they remote into computers, how they do inventory, monitoring, alerting. The internal IT can gain access into that. So they can be equipped to use those tools to support their customers in a higher way. Ticketing, they can both operate out of the same ticketing system, so they can share tickets back and forth. Documentation, they can work out of the same documentation system. So like one of the comments that was made earlier or the quote that was given earlier where a company wouldn't give their documentation to the client. In this scenario, they would always have access to the documentation because the internal IT staff and the MSP are working out of the same information. Alerts, they can go through the same alert system. They can both get alerts, and then you would define who's responsible for picking up what alerts. And then procedures. They all need to be working. These procedures need to be defined upfront. Who's responsible for what? Talk about roles, what forms need to be tweaked. So move, add, change forms for adding computers and users and removing them and such. All right. Licensing. Oh, I'm sorry. We've got a new poll. So which of these areas represents the biggest challenge for your organization? Right. Software integrations and developments, IT and network support, and all of the above. All right. Thanks, guys, for answering that poll. Okay, licensing support. We'll move through this one pretty quickly. This is another area that your IT support providers should be covering for you, as managing your licenses. And what we've got up on the screen right now is Microsoft 365. That's just a huge piece of licensing management, and Microsoft is one of the most difficult partners as far as licensing management. So that's what somebody like us is here for. Kind of key things I want to throw out around Microsoft 365 specifically is they offer a lot of a la carte items, and they also offer a lot of suites. This table represents their suites, and things that we look for when recommending a suite to a customer would be one, does it meet their application requirements? So they might need Microsoft Office on the desktop. They might need access to Teams. They might need access to SharePoint and OneDrive. So does the suite include all of those items that they need from a business application standpoint? But then on top of that is security. So we're going back to that big security topic. Does it include all the security items that we would recommend? So big items that we look for would be Intune for mobile device management. Does it include Defender or antivirus solutions? Does it provide conditional access for limiting access to the bad guys getting in? Litigation hold? There's a whole series of security items that we need to see in place. And the ones that we recommend most often for that would be on the small business side, Business Premium. And then on the larger side would be Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. E5 is better. So those provide most of the security categories that we like to see checked. Or on the small business side, any of these that are listed as business basic, business standard, business premium, you can get into those at 300 or less users. And then above that, you need to go to the enterprise level. final thing about NCE is, or I'm sorry, Microsoft 365 is their new commerce experience. That's something that they added last year. And at its basic, it requires that you purchase a true annual subscription, or you pay a 20% premium over list to stay month to month. For the annual subscription, you cannot decrease your licenses or lower your suite plan within the term. You have to wait until the end of the term for that to take place. But there's a lot of different options around how to manage that. So if you need help with that, feel free to reach out. All right, question 4. All right, got some on the newer side here. It's good to see that. All right, so that kind of covers the basics of the managed services provider part of this conversation. And it can be more complicated than that, but reach out if you need help. And other than that, I'm ready to turn this over into the capable hands of Jason Barnes to discuss the Power Platform. So Jason Barnes, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Robert. So again, we appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today, and certainly hope that our session will provide you with a few takeaways that will help you select the right technology partner for your business. And one thing, as Robert explained, there's a lot to consider there. I've been a software consultant for going on 20 years now, and from my experience, there is one crucial way a partner can help. And that's really helping your business sort of keep up with the pace of technology. And I mean, if there's one thing we know is that technology changes fast, right? So certainly presents quite the challenge at times. But the one thing to point out is that, as a Microsoft cloud solution provider, my team and I, we all go through, in fact, all of our consultants, Microsoft consultants, go through required certifications and training. So obviously that's to ensure that we're well prepared to assist our clients. But one thing that we've been busy, in fact, very busy catching our clients up on is Microsoft's Power Platform. So today, I hope to help you better sort of understand the power of Power Platform. And of course, our friend there, you don't have to join the dark side. Again, may the 4th be with you. So let's get started. So our story here, let's see, occurs about 3 years ago in a Dataverse far, far away, right? But you're probably wondering, Jason, what's Dataverse? I was like, I might have read some material about this, but I'm not quite sure what that means. So the Dataverse, I want you to think of the Dataverse as sort of this backbone that all of the applications and services that are part of Power Platform sort of sit on top of, right? And we'll go over this more here shortly. But applications that you're already using, I guarantee you, everybody on this webinar today is using Office 365. You may already be using Dynamics 365, and perhaps some of the Power Platform applications and services we're going to be talking about, you may already leverage those. So in short, Dataverse, what it does is it enables users to leverage this Power Platform against their business data that already will reside in the Microsoft 365 cloud, right? So in Office, in Dynamics, of course, you have Power BI for your reporting, for example. And it can do this without the need for integration. That's the key. There is no complex integration needed. And in our industry, we actually call that the common data model. And honestly, I think by all accounts, this is how, your modern business applications are going to be delivered and supported, probably well into the future there. So, the common data model really is something that all businesses should be paying attention to. It could risk being at a disadvantage the next time you are up against a competitor. So certainly something to be aware of and stay on top of. So one helpful, methodology that we see business owners and leaders using, and many have used this for decades. It's nothing new, but it's called the golden triangle, or the PPT framework, and you might find documentation calling it the PPT framework. But at LBMC, this PPT framework is sort of at the core of how we deliver support, to our clients. So, as Robert mentioned earlier, we take that partner level approach to our work to help clients achieve that right balance. And as you can tell, if any one side of this triangle is weaker than the other, the whole thing's going to collapse, right? So as a partner, we'll focus on our clients' processes. We'll have sessions and interviews with the people that run that business, and it's all about setting up a situation where we can properly sort of recommend and possibly help implement the right technology. But you still have clients that are struggling, and that struggle is real. Let me tell you, this is something that really hits home for me, because I see businesses struggling nearly every week, it seems, with dated and old resources and systems and homegrown applications that really are causing problems. I call it sort of the forest for the trees approach. And they just seem to constantly struggle and deal with these unsupported applications and resources, and it really does become a constant sort of drag on the business. I like to say the status quo becomes too trustworthy, is the way I like to phrase it. But so if the process, if you want to think of it, is if the process or the data that the software or this system or spreadsheet is meant to support is critical to the business, then why would any business choose to use decades old technology to manage it, right? It's critical. And I'm talking about critical process and critical data. So, what's interesting is, some of you that are sitting there right now are probably saying, oh shoot, that's us. And of course, let's hope not, but I'm willing to bet there's probably one or two in the group today that's likely thinking that very thing. So, we're going to talk about a few later on. We're going to talk about a few LBMC client projects that are sort of great examples of these struggles, and then that these businesses were facing. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Power Platform helped solve this, right? It helped them overcome this struggle. So let's also kind of talk about your traditional means of development. So if we think about what it takes to develop a custom software application, if any of you have a room like this in your business, they may exist. There's nothing wrong with these folks. This is just how software was developed, for decades now. You had sort of a developer farm. And before the common data model solutions such as Power Platform and Dataverse were available, the predominant way to create a custom application or system was to hire some developers, some programmers. The only problem is that traditional means of development it's obviously very time consuming. It gets expensive. It's a long way around the barn is the phrase I like to use. Typically it's going to require, many people, not just one person. We're talking a team of people, that are going to be involved in that development cycle. You're going to need a solution architect. You're going to need like maybe a database admin, the logic programmer, the one actually writing the code. And then of course you're going to need somebody to develop the UI. So you're going to have multiple people engaged in that effort, right? And so anything with that, many moving parts, it can take years to make it through your development, your testing, QA to get to the final product. So, and then once you get it live, you have to maintain it. So you're dealing with some of the same people potentially, for years and years, ongoing. And, what happens if some of those people that were sort of the brainchild behind the development of the application, what if they leave your organization or they leave the developer, that was supporting you? So that could be a problem. So fast, forward a little bit to the Power Platform. So Power Platform, it can enable just one person really, in a matter of hours, maybe a few days, to create a custom application that honestly could deliver that same process automation and support. So let's just sort of talk about that, right? Let's talk about how this is possible. So next thing I want to explain and give you a sort of a definition of is, what is the Power Platform, right? We talked about it, sounds great already, but really what is it? So a phrase that you're going to hear more often in the years to come is low code. So Power Platform is a low code, high productivity platform, they call it, that includes the ability for users to create any number of custom applications, websites, chatbots, virtual agents and chatbots that allow you to interact with your clients. And of course, reports and analytics. It's not just a matter of entering the data, but we need to analyze it. We need to make something of it, right? So let's talk about the services and some of these applications that go into the Power Platform. So Power Apps, probably is the most vital part of Power Platform. It has a really easy to use, it has a really easy to use interface with a series of different connectors that you can link to different applications that are available in the marketplace. It provides that sort of, I call it like a rapid, fast-paced development environment, allows users to build those applications, like I said earlier, in a matter of hours or days instead of weeks or months or years. So it really does allow, your business users the ability to simplify so many of those layers and steps and people that are involved in that typical software development cycle, right? And I do want to say one thing that, Power Apps is a great tool. There is going to be a need for true, just pure software development, but for the foreseeable future. But I think everybody would agree that Power Apps is, in this concept of these low code platforms, is going to be here to stay, and it's really going to make a big imprint in the marketplace. So in addition to Power Apps, if you take Power Apps and you want to provide some process automation, Microsoft calls that Power Automate. So Power Automate is a service that allows users to really streamline sort of like repetitive tasks, kind of automate sort of the process workflows and actions. It's great for exchanges between business applications like ERP and CRM, for example. We call that DPA, or digital process automation. So great example of that is like I have an update to a customer record in my ERP, like maybe Business Central, right? And I want that update to also be reflected in my CRM system. So in the past, we've had to have really expensive integrations to do that. Well, with ARC or DPA and using Power Automate, there's no integration needed. It sits on the same platform, and we use Power Automate as the process automation tool. So very helpful, and obviously a lot less expensive and complex than integration work. In addition to that, something that's fairly new to the Power Automate service is what we call RPA, which is robotic process automation. So a great example of this would be, and this is usually at the desktop level, right? But you could run, for example, an invoice batch in your accounting system. The one thing to know is that this RPA it's application agnostic. It doesn't care what the application is, right? What it's doing is it's watching and tracking your selections and movements on the screen, and it literally records the actions, right? So it can work with any desktop application. So really advanced stuff, and it's something that obviously would be very helpful. So Power BI, most of you right now are probably, have heard of or probably already using Power BI. It is the fastest growing service on Power Platform. There are millions and millions of users using it every day, right? So it's going to let your user. For those of you who don't though already use it, Power BI it's a business intelligence service, right? It's going to allow you to connect different data sources, set up advanced queries of data between more than just one or two data sources. Allows you to sort of analyze that in the reporting tool, and then you can share those reports and dashboards, out to other users. There's things like interactive visualizations, interactive dashboards. So very impressive. And there's also a mobile app that allows users to consume those reports locally as well. So what's a Power Virtual Agent? Everybody's, I'm sure, wondering what that is if you're not caught up on the Power Platform. So Power Virtual Agents is an AI-powered chatbot, right? So these can be configured to really provide just common answers. Provide simple answers to common questions, or you can actually program them or script them to really have complex conversations. We're talking like it can respond in turn using natural language with your customers, right? So great example of that I have personal experience with is Southwest Airlines. If you have ever used their automated chat feature with Southwest, they have one of the most complex, powerful chatbots I think I've ever seen. And there's probably others out there, but this is from my personal experience, really impressive. So next time you fly Southwest, try that chatbot and see what your thoughts are. And really the power of these chatbots are best for sort of high volume, questions from customers, things that are just repetitive. It's like typically the same questions. So they're very good at handling large volumes of requests without having to staff, human beings to cover all that, right? So, things like order status, what's your return policy, the simple how-to information, these are, the kind of things that you could easily automate with a chatbot. And with Power Pages, obviously, just by the name, you would grasp a concept that has something to do with websites. So Power Pages is Microsoft's sort of low-code platform for not only creating websites, but also administering them, hosting them. And of course, the fact they reside in Dataverse, that's a huge advantage, right? It has a significant amount of possibilities there, because now your website could sit on the same back end as all these other systems and data sources. So you're talking about, for example, a website that could be directly linked to your CRM, to your accounting system, to your e-commerce platform, and maybe even your marketing platform, right? With Power Pages, they would all sit on that same common, data back end, Dataverse. So that's a significant advantage, much more streamlined, obviously a lot less complexity. So one other topic and service that I would like to mention is AI Builder. And honestly, I feel like it's saving the best for last. So this is something that I've been working with myself recently, and I'm super impressed with it. I think it's going to really change the way businesses process information. So think of these bots as like digital employees. You can train them to perform sort of repetitive tasks, not just simple tasks, right? They can actually learn, the complex tasks, and they actually learn how to become better and more efficient on their own. You can train them, to learn things like invoice processing, receipt processing, document processing. These are all things that are often really time consuming for people. But with a bot, they literally can take seconds, right? So that's a significant amount of efficiency that you gain. And I had a client the other day that joked about this, but no, we don't need to send a cyborg back, to stop Skynet. These are not that type of bot, right? It's much simpler than anything along those lines. But AI Builder is certainly something that I think is going to be very prominent going forward. So couple more slides and we'll wrap up here. So I wanted to make sure that you had an idea of like really what Power Platform, like we can take all these things and sort of bring to bear on business challenges, right? So this is a list of a few projects that we've done with Power Platform. I want to focus on the top two, but really the options are limitless. I mean, we can literally create an app for anything. But we worked with recently worked with a charity based in Michigan that they basically donate cars or receive donations of cars and vehicles, and they sell those to low-income individuals and families. So great purpose, great organization. So we were able to help them. And then we'll also take a look at a work order management app that we created as well. So let's sort of dive into that. So Cherry Motors, they were using a Access database that was 20 plus years old. They couldn't even remember what year it actually was created. So, and they've been fighting to keep it supported for years now. As you can imagine, Access really isn't used that often anymore. In fact, it's not used anymore. So finding hardware that meets the requirements of the hardware specs for Access is basically impossible. So what they were asking for is something that would allow them to track their donations, track the organizations that they provide charitable donations to, tracking obviously their donors, and then it actually had to support a retail process where they would actually sell the car to the low-income family and individuals. So, and of course, all of this, you know, the documentation had to be automated as well, so it was completely paperless. So certainly a big challenge. This gives you an idea of what that old Access database looked like. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but as they say, you know, it gets the job done. But it certainly presented a lot of challenges. Like I said, we couldn't find hardware to support it anymore. And the person that was responsible for the management of Access, this database, was retiring. And so she was retiring and they had to find something because there weren't going to be anybody else to help support this. So we in turn, using and creating a Power App, using the Power Platform, created a far more modern application for them to use. And one of the things they asked for was a way to see the progress of a donation. So you can see here, I chose this particular screenshot just so because you could see the use of the ribbon at the top to support the process, which became very helpful for them so they kind of see what they needed to do next. And then this was an example of the actual transaction where they would sell that that vehicle to, you know, like I said, a needy family or individual. Another recent project we worked on was with work order management. So a client of ours, Southern Tech, this is another great example of, you know, some of those struggles, right? So they were using a 15-year-old plus SharePoint on-premise deployment. And what they found out is that SharePoint Online would not support their use case for SharePoint because they were really using it as sort of like record keeping, like database tracking for their work orders and service orders. And it couldn't do it. SharePoint Online is really more of a document depository now. It's not necessarily meant for sort of a custom site, website. So we replaced that. We gave them something they could track orders and service records, products, warranty details, track all the repair codes. It's a very elaborate system. It actually goes right into their billing system. And of course, you know, like everything else these days, they wanted everything to be paperless. So just a couple of quick screenshots of the results of that solution. I didn't have one of the current state with the SharePoint environment. But as you can see, we've done some great work in the custom Power App we built for them. So hopefully you're wondering, okay, so this is awesome. So how do I get a hold of it? How do I license that? I want to start using it. So the last slide I wanted to present is just some quick information on Power Platform licensing. As you can see, there's multiple ways to license in the Power Platform. It's very inexpensive, so that's great. If there's any questions on licensing, feel free to reach out to Eddie and the team. But otherwise, I'll turn it over to Eddie.
Yeah, thank you, Jason and Robert. Unfortunately, we're at time right now. If you do have any questions, please email us at info@lbmctech.com and we will follow up with you. If you don't mind, also, I think we're just going to send you a follow-up email in general, just to see if you would like us to schedule a call and discuss any of these items further with you. But with that, again, thanks for everybody's attendance, and you all have a great rest of your week.